The sound of the heart monitor went flat. A long, continuous beep that silenced the entire room. Doctors froze. Nurses exchanged glances. And standing at the edge of the hospital bed, a billionaire watched his entire world collapse in front of him. His son, his only son, was gone. The lead doctor slowly removed his gloves, his face heavy with the kind of exhaustion that came from delivering bad news too often. "I'm sorry. We did everything we could." But before anyone could move, before the machines were turned off, before the sheet could be pulled over the boy's face, a quiet voice broke through the silence. "No, he's not gone." All eyes turned. It was the maid, standing there, trembling slightly. But her eyes locked on the boy like she was seeing something no one else could. And what happened next, no one in that room would ever forget. Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel, because this wasn't just a story about loss, it was a story about belief, about being overlooked, and about the one person no one trusted, becoming the reason everything changed. Just a few weeks earlier, the house had been filled with laughter. Ethan Cole, a self-made billionaire known across the country for his sharp mind and ruthless business decisions, had everything money could buy. Luxury cars, private jets, a mansion that stretched across acres of perfectly manicured land. But none of that mattered to him the way his son Lucas did. Lucas was 10 years old, full of life, curious, always asking questions that made adults pause and think. He was the only soft spot in Ethan's otherwise guarded heart. And then there was Maria, the maid. She had been working in the house for just under a year. Quiet, observant, always keeping to herself. The kind of person most people barely noticed. But Lucas noticed her. While others saw just a maid, Lucas saw someone who listened, someone who cared. They would sit together sometimes in the kitchen talking about school, about dreams, about life, and Maria would smile, the kind of smile that carried both warmth and something deeper, something unspoken. Then one evening, everything changed. Lucas collapsed. No warning, no explanation. One moment he was laughing. The next he was on the floor, struggling to breathe. Panic spread through the mansion like wildfire. Ethan rushed him to the hospital himself, ignoring traffic laws, ignoring everything except the fading breaths of his son in the back seat. Doctors worked on him for hours. Tests were run, machines were connected. But nothing made sense. No clear diagnosis, no explanation. Just a rapid decline that no one could stop. And standing quietly in the corner of the hospital room, Maria watched, not with panic, not with confusion, but with a growing unease, like something wasn't right. If you were in Ethan's position, watching your child slip away with no answers, what would you do? Would you trust the doctors completely? Or start questioning everything? Share your thoughts in the comments. Days passed. Lucas didn't wake up. His condition only worsened. Doctors adjusted treatments, changed medications, ran more tests. But every answer led to more questions. Ethan grew frustrated, then angry, then desperate. "This is the best hospital in the country," he snapped one night. "How do you not know what's wrong with my son?" The doctors had no answers. But Maria, she had doubts, small things at first. The way Lucas's condition seemed to worsen after certain treatments, the way his vital signs fluctuated at unusual times, the way no one seemed to question the pattern. She didn't say anything at first. Who would listen? She was just the maid. But the feeling wouldn't go away. One night, when the room was quiet and the machines hummed softly in the background, Maria stepped closer to the bed. She looked at Lucas carefully, not like a doctor, not like a nurse, but like someone who truly paid attention. And then she noticed it. A tiny movement, barely visible, his fingers twitching. Her heart skipped. She leaned closer. "Lucas?" she whispered. Nothing. But she had seen it. She was sure of it. The next morning she tried to speak up. "I think he's reacting to something," she said softly. The nurse barely looked at her. "The doctors are handling it." Maria hesitated. "But what if—" "I said they're handling it." Dismissed. Ignored. But she couldn't shake the feeling. Something was wrong. Not with Lucas, but with what was being done to him. Right here, imagine being in Maria's position, seeing something others ignore, but no one taking you seriously. Would you stay quiet or risk everything to speak up? That night, everything came to a head. Lucas's heart rate dropped suddenly. Alarms filled the room. Doctors rushed in. Orders were shouted. Machines beeped wildly. Ethan stood frozen in the corner, his face pale, his hands trembling. And then, flatline. The sound that ended everything. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. The doctor stepped back. "It's over." But Maria stepped forward. "No." Her voice was stronger this time. "He's still there." The room went still. "Ma'am, you need to step back," a nurse said firmly. But Maria didn't move. She looked at Lucas again, and then at the machines, then back at Lucas. Her eyes widened. And before anyone could stop her, she broke every rule. She reached for him. "Stop her!" someone shouted. But it was too late. Maria began chest compressions, but not the way the doctors had done it. Different rhythm, different timing, like she was following something instinctive, something learned not from textbooks, but from experience. "Get her away from him!" the doctor yelled. But Ethan didn't move. He just watched. Something in him hesitated. Maria leaned closer. "Come on, Lucas," she whispered. "You're not done yet." Seconds felt like hours. Nothing happened. Then suddenly, a beep, one sharp, unexpected beep. Everyone froze. Another, and another. The monitor flickered back to life. Heartbeat. Weak. But there. The room erupted into chaos. Doctors rushed back in. Machines were adjusted. Orders were shouted again. But this time, it was different. This time, there was hope. Ethan stared at the monitor, then at Maria. He couldn't speak. He couldn't even process what he had just seen. Be honest, did you expect that moment? Or did you think it was truly over? Tell me what went through your mind right then. Hours later, Lucas was stable, still unconscious, but alive. The doctors were stunned. None of it made sense. "What exactly did you do?" one of them asked Maria. She hesitated, then spoke quietly. "I've seen something like this before, back where I'm from. A boy. Same symptoms. The treatment was making it worse." The room went silent. "What are you saying?" Ethan asked slowly. Maria took a deep breath. "I think something in his treatment is harming him." At first, the idea sounded impossible. This was one of the best hospitals in the country. But after what had just happened, no one could ignore her completely. Tests were reviewed again, medications reevaluated, and then they found it. A rare reaction. One of the drugs being administered was triggering a dangerous response in Lucas's body. It had gone unnoticed, until now. The treatment was stopped immediately. A new approach was taken. And slowly, Lucas began to recover. Days later, he opened his eyes. Ethan was sitting beside him, exhausted, but present. "Dad," Lucas whispered. Ethan broke. Tears fell freely as he held his son's hand. "You're okay? You're okay?" Across the room, Maria stood quietly, watching, not expecting recognition, not expecting thanks, just relieved. Later that evening, Ethan approached her. For the first time, not as an employer, but as a man who owed everything. "I was wrong about you," he said. Maria shook her head gently. You were just scared? Ethan paused. No. I was blind. He looked at her, his voice steady. You saved my son's life. Maria didn't respond immediately. Then she said softly, he just needed someone to notice. Before we come to the end, I want to ask you something. Who do you think really saved Lucas? Was it Maria? Or the fact that she chose to speak up when everyone else stayed silent? Let me know your thoughts below. Life slowly returned to normal. But something had changed. Not just in the house, but in Ethan. He no longer overlooked the quiet people. He no longer dismissed the small voices, because he had learned, the hard way, that sometimes the person no one pays attention to is the one who sees everything. And as for Maria, she was no longer just the maid. She was family. Thank you for watching this story on Untold Maid Confessions. If this story moved you in any way, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me, what part of this story stayed with you the most? I read every single comment, because sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones no one sees coming.